It's death. You have to die. The current version of you has to die to make way for what's to come. It's not willpower, it's won't power. If you're not sure where you're going to go, then any road will take you there. You can solve a problem that's only solvable by a version of you that's better than you are now. I think it might be God. I think that pain and adversity is the mechanism that God uses. When do you arrive? You don't arrive. That's the whole point. So people say, hey, I want to be successful. I want to make it in business. I want to learn to invest. I want to learn to do this thing, all these sorts of things. When it comes down to it, they're trying to make money. And so you go, okay, well, you've now learned that you're going to have to make some money. And so whether it's someone who went to school and paid for an education without just thinking that the money would take care of itself on the back end, that education was the answer, or it was someone who just took a job and realized there's a roof on their income, and their income is tied to their time, and they only have so much time, so they'll never make past a certain amount of money. They'll never ever get past a certain point once they arrive. Or if it's just someone who's just working in a place and they just can't stand what they're doing every single day. They just can't stand the thought of going to work. Then you start to think, what can I do? I can't live this way. This isn't a way that I can live. This isn't, I won't accept this. I'm not going to grow old doing this. So how do I get more bang for my buck? How do I make more money? How do I get more autonomy? You start asking those questions. And for me, anytime that conversation comes up, you have to start with where are you trying to go? Right? It's a thing my business partner always would say. He would say, if you're not sure where you're going to go, then any road will take you there. So there's no real direction because there's no there's no thought about where you're trying to go. And if there's no direction, there's no path to follow. There's no framework for you to have. It all has to start with where do you want to be? And you should take the time to think 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? What does your day look like? What are you pushing towards? Where are you doing it? Right? And what I have found is that anyone who achieves that thing, that goal that they have before them, or if they finally find satisfaction, it's all because they're pursuing something larger than themselves. People have to have something to chase after that's bigger than them. And leaders have to instill in the people that they're trying to lead that vision. They have to give them the words to describe that vision. But I think so many people are going through school, so many people are sitting in jobs, so many people are creating businesses, quite frankly, where there's no purpose behind it other than to try to make money. And they don't feel like they're serving something greater than themselves. And so I think that's the first thing. What do you want? What do you want? Where do you want to go? And then think about that clearly and write it down. If you don't know who Brian Tracy is, fix that. Start looking up Brian Tracy. Look up how to set goals. Read the book, Eat That Frog. Okay. There are frameworks to help you set goals. But once you get really clear about what you want, then you can start thinking about how to get there. But the why behind it is going to be the most important part of the whole thing, because the why is the part of it that becomes bigger than you. It's the service part. It's the thing that motivates you. It's the thing that makes you not want to quit, because you don't want to quit on something that is bigger than yourself. This thing that gives you purpose. When it's bigger than you, it can give you purpose. And I think that's the big point, is it's got to be more than just money. And so you need to know where you're going. So you got to think through that. It's a process of sitting down and writing it out. And then you got to think about not just where you want to go, but how do you get there? And when I say that, there is this thought of, okay, if I'm thinking about how to get there, then I need to figure out how much money I need to make each month, or how much of this product I need to sell by this date. Or I guess for a lot of people who are in college, it's, what type of job I need to get hired for. And you start thinking about that very specifically. and this will equal this amount of money by this time. And what we don't think about often enough is the thought of, who do I have to become in order to get to that place? See, the biggest issue isn't necessarily the fact that we're unwilling to do what it takes work-wise to get to that outcome. It's that we can't have that outcome until we become a certain person that adds more value than we currently add today, which means that self-improvement sits at the center of every single part of the process. Whenever you say, okay, I need to accomplish this, I need to do this, I need to get out of this situation, it requires growth. It requires you to become bigger than you currently are so that you can solve a problem that's only solvable by a version of you that's better than you are now. And so what's required is pain. It's pain. It's painful, because that's how correction comes. That's the form correction comes. When we ask for growth, when we seek growth, growth comes in the form of having to go through an adversity and feeling some type of pain, some type of setback, some type of life event that prepares us, that gives us the things, the tools that we need in order to get to the next level so that we could achieve this goal that's in front of us. And so that's the thing. That's what I would say to anyone who is wanting to be more, who is wanting to get out of the rat race, who's wanting to think about what life after school looks like for them when they're maybe they're in grad school, or they're going back to school for a higher level degree, or they're thinking about starting their own firm or doing their own thing, or they want to start their own business. It's this reality that the current version of you has to die in order for this thing to succeed. And that's the reason to do it. The reason to do it is so that you can improve, is so that you can feel that progress. But you can't for a second think that that progress is comfortable. It's not comfortable. There are whole books written on how to become more comfortable in the face of adversity, right? But it's never fully comfortable. It's not something that you're necessarily going to enjoy, right? But it's required. Anytime in my life where I have wanted to achieve something like beyond the horizon, something that I couldn't do currently, something fell apart in my life, something bad happened, something that, it's until I learned how to look at it, I thought these things were catastrophic, world shattering, paradigm breaking. And it was because the world that I lived in needed to be shattered. The paradigm needed to be challenged. The belief systems needed to change. And that was the only way to get to the very thing I was trying to go after. So I was really clear on what I wanted, and I was willing to do the work, and I understood the why behind what I was doing. And then adversity, setback, roadblock. And what I realized is that we just progress through life, never being done with the problems. Not if you're pursuing growth. You're always changing. You're always iterating. You're always trying to improve. The difference is that the tool set you have changes. When you start, you don't have any tools. And so the very first thing, the very first adversity that you face, it is so difficult because you don't know what to do. You've never dealt with anything like this, and you don't know how to control your inner world. You don't know how to find the help from the network you have or don't have, from your outer world. You don't know how to deal with this setback. You don't know how to deal with the uncertainty, with the anxiety that comes with the whole situation. And the truth is until you can deal with that smaller situation, you are not equipped to deal with the larger one. You're asking to be a person that solves larger problems, that brings more value, right? So if you're going to bring more value, it means that you are solving a larger problem for a smaller group of people, or maybe you're solving a smaller problem for a larger group of people. Either way, one part of the equation is larger, and that's going to require growth from you. That's just a fact, and you got to know that right up front. So get clear on what you're trying to do. Get clear on the why behind what you're trying to do, and prepare yourself mentally for what you're about to go through. It's death. You have to die. The current version of you has to die to make way for what's to come. How analogous is that to so many things in life? That's just the way we see nature work. It's the exact same thing that happens with us. And when do you arrive? You don't arrive. That's the whole point. You don't get there. Every time I thought I was there thus far, and every time I've seen someone who quote unquote got there, whatever the goal was, the goalpost just moves. It just moves. It's always the question, 2 words, then what? Okay, so you achieve goal A, then what? Then you achieve goal B, then what? The whole point was never the goal. It was pursuing something bigger than you that required you to grow, that required you to become more, which required a death, right? There had to be a death of who you were, how you thought, the way that you looked at things, the patterns that you observed, the habits that you had, the structure of your day, the way that you looked at things, the way that you perceived life around you, all that had to change. And it's terrible. It hurts. It's not fun. But it's the most rewarding thing in the world. And it's how you get to where you want to go. And so for anybody considering leaving a job, for anyone considering how they're going to make more money when they get out of school, or what their next step should be, if they're considering starting their own business or stepping out, you just better do that with your eyes wide open. And it's okay. It's totally normal to have that experience, and there's nothing wrong with that experience. It's actually wonderful. I love it. It's something that I'll continue to do. I'm going to continue to challenge myself. I'm going to continue to face adversity the older that I get, and hopefully I can do that all the way to death. And so I understand I'm inviting hardship and pain. I heard someone say one time that the devil does that to us. The longer I live, I'm not sure it is the devil. I think it might be God. I think that pain and adversity is the mechanism that God uses every time we ask him for something more, or to be greater. If we ask to be greater or capable of more, or to have the ability to have more, to be more, then I think we're opening the door for God to put a mountain in front of us for us to have to climb, figuratively. And lots of times that comes in the form of loss. And we have to really search. The thing that's so crazy about that situation is what it requires, first and foremost, before the growth, is saying no. It's not willpower, it's won't power. It's not about what you will do, as in, I will make this many sales calls, I will produce this many pieces of content, I will reach out to this many people, I will do this much writing per day. That's all important. But what's more important is the won't. It is the thing that you're willing to give up, the thing that you're going to stop doing. All of us have it. There's something right now in our lives, if you stop and think, there's one thing that you could eliminate right now that would have a massive impact on your ability to get to where you say you want to go. There's one thing that continuously coincides with your life going in a negative trajectory. That one thing might be a person, it might be a habit, it might be some type of vice, but we all have it. We have multiple things, but there's one thing that you could go to work on today to actually let go of, to say, I won't do that anymore. That's the biggest thing. As I've seen people succeed, I'm like, the people that are super successful, the people that are really making it here, it's not these people who have this tremendous amount of willpower. It's won't power. It's the ability to say, no, I won't do that thing. And then I'm going to stop doing that thing. And I'm going to stop doing that thing because it makes way for this other thing over here. So I'll end with this. I don't think that the enemy, the devil, whatever the force is that we've all experienced that makes us not want to do something, procrastination, the goal isn't to get you to do something that's totally awful. The goal is to get you to do nothing. So that's what the enemy would want. If there is an enemy, if there is a devil, and the whole point is to cause chaos, his goal would be to just get good men to do nothing, get capable men to do nothing. There's a book called The Traveler's Gift. And in that book, David Ponder goes all throughout history. And he stands right beside people as they make some of the biggest decisions that have shaped the world that we know all throughout history. And at the end of the book, I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but at the end of the book, he meets the angel Gabriel. And I don't want to go into too much detail, but they are in this place of what never will be, or essentially the things that never will be. And it's revealed to David all these things that would exist, that could exist, had he met his full potential. Had he done the things that he was here to do, had he followed his convictions, had he gone through the adversity, had he experienced the growth that he needed, these are the things that would have happened. There's things like cures for cancer. There's toys in there from kids that he'll never have, right? There's all these things that are revealed to him that could be his if he were willing to just continue to live, to continue to push, to continue to try, to go through the things that are super difficult. And I think about that often, and I want to challenge you to think about that too. What can you be? What impact could you have on this world if you said no to a few more of these things and yes to a few more of these things? If you had a higher standard, if you were willing to just constantly think about others in front of yourself. I hear people talk about what they're going to do and the job they're going to have, the money they're going to make, the company they're going to build. And so often people are saying me, my, mine, I, right? It's about them. And the people that I see really pull out ahead, make it about everyone else. They are constantly thinking about how to serve someone else, how to be a servant. And that's where you end up. That's where you end up is you go through massive amounts of adversity and pain so that you can be a better servant to others. And then the law of reciprocity takes care of the rest. Everything starts to come into your life. That's the truth that I have experienced. That's the reality that I have lived in. Everything that we go through serves the purpose of increasing our capacity to give to others, to serve others. And the people who can create the products, the services, the advice that serves the most people, will they get through reciprocity the largest rewards. That's just the way that it works. I hope this is helpful as you kind of think through the decisions that you need to make, trying to figure out how to orient yourself and trying to figure out exactly what it is you should do next.